And welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. I want to talk a bit about the My Arcade Atari Gamestation Pro here. A little bit of an update because My Arcade did update this a little while ago. This is now running on version 1.3 firmware, which there's a lot of videos out there that show how to do so and what to do. But a couple of people asked me, hey, ever since that update, you were talking about how this controller would lose sync after a while. Does that still happen? And I don't know. I've just tried testing it, and at first I was going to say, no, it's still an issue. But, so as you know from my video, I always like to run mine in this sort of funky orange, 70s sort of glow color. That's the preferred style for me because it harkens back to the Atari 2600, gives this thing the Atari 2600 joystick look. And I did notice after about an hour, 45 minutes, with the new firmware, yes, this would lose sync again. And I tried capturing it on camera, but story about that in a second. I know it loses sync because as I'm playing, this remains orange, and this goes back to the swirling rainbow color of the default. And then a little menu pops up saying, do you want to exit out of the game? I'm like, okay, that loses sync. Easy solution, just hit the colors again and it'll go back to, there's that default. You can change it again and boom, you're back into your game, no problem. So the synchronization's not a big deal. But somebody had asked, hey, you haven't tested it in this glowing Tron color. Does it do it in that? So I thought, okay, I'm gonna just try it now for this video, do a little test and see if/when it loses it in this color. It's 2 hours later. It still hasn't happened. Now, when I first fired it up, within like 10 minutes, it did lose sync. And I didn't have the camera running, so I thought, okay, let's do it again. This time, we'll try to capture it on film. Well, it's been 2 hours, and my camera filled up its memory capacity, and I had to give it a little bit of a rest, and the thing never lost sync. So I don't think it's specifically color related. I think the sync issue is very hit and miss because I used to have on version 1.1 or 1.0, I used to have this thing lose sync within an hour, guaranteed. You could set your clock to it. Now I've just played on this white mode, but I don't think it's color related. It either dies in 5 or 10 minutes, it loses sync, or it'll last for a couple of hours because I've just been playing hoping to capture it for you and it doesn't lose sync at all now. So I guess it's fixed. I assume so. The person was also asking, well, what if you hook it up with USB cable directly? I'm not going to bother with that because A, I've just played this thing for 2 hours on wireless and I haven't had a problem. But in my mind, instinctively, I know if it's wired to the connector or to the controller, that's not going to have a sync issue at all. So I'm going to go out on a limb and assume, yeah, if it's wired, you're never going to have a sync problem. And honestly, now I think it's kind of better. So just a little feedback or a little update there on the update for the My Arcade. It seems to have been much better fixed, or a lot worse if it dies within 5 or 10 minutes. I will say I haven't played this for a while during the Christmas break, and these are the original already used batteries that I first had in here. And so when this thing died after 5 or 10 minutes, part of me was like, is it because I haven't used it for a while? I don't know. There's no real logic to that, but I won't necessarily say that first dying of losing the synchronization was the firmware's issue. I want to put that down to I haven't used it in a while and the batteries might not have been at their peak performance. Now they've been running for 2 hours, no problem at all, never loses sync. So whatever conclusion you want to draw to that. The only thing I will notice with the new firmware that is a negative, everything else is positive, and you can review, you can check on YouTube. They've added paddle support for games off the SD card and all that kind of good stuff. But the only thing that I have noticed that's a bit of a negative, people were noticing originally on version 1, everything was coming out of just one speaker, I think the left speaker. Now they've added it so at least it's coming out of both speakers, which is great. But I'm noticing on certain games, like I notice it with Pressure Cooker, or in MAME if I'm playing Donkey Kong, or I've got Ed Freeze's awesome Halo 2600 loaded onto this thing. Because there are certain quiet segments in some of those things, I heard like this humming noise coming out of the left speaker. Now, I don't know if that's just mine or everybody's or whatever, but yeah, a little bit of a hum. That was odd. That wasn't there before. Now, if I mute my TV, the hum goes away. So it's definitely coming through the game or from the console. So I was going to try and reproduce it, but I don't think my camera will pick up the hum. It's like a very background, almost imperceptible hum sound, but it's definitely there. And as I say, if I mute the TV, it stops happening. However, I'm going to say that the My Arcade is much better with sync issues now. I haven't really been able to cause it to lose sync after 2 hours of playing, so I think to me that's a good enough detail. Also, kudos to the battery capacity or the battery life of this controller. Like, I thought when these went in, they were used, and I thought, okay, this is definitely going to die pretty soon. Months later, I'm still using the same original batteries. I've still got really good control. Let's put it that way. I can fly through a game. I've been trying to get this thing to trip up, like with Cosmic Arc or Demon Attack, something that's a lot of left, right, you know, up and down, and a lot of frantic motion. Haven't been able to make it really get like a bad signal or anything like that. So battery life is awesome on this thing. I love it. Oh, and by the way, they've apparently installed a screensaver. I was leaving this running for a bit as I stepped away, and this kicked in after a few minutes. So I know the joystick has fallen asleep, and in fact, I think if you just move the joystick, yeah, joystick will come back to life, and then will it? Yeah, there we go, back in action. Interesting. Yeah, they've added a screensaver. Anyway. Just gonna leave it there. That's an update on the My Arcade Atari Gamestation Pro with the firmware update 1.3. I sure hope by the time I post this video they haven't released another update, because this will make it irrelevant. But yeah, for those who are wondering, hey, you've reported sync issues. Has it gone away? Maybe. I'm gonna say maybe. And on that note, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.